Hello there, my name is Nate Jackson, the Eclipser, welcoming you back to part 2 of our review of Eclipse Series number 7, Postwar Kurosawa, One Wonderful Subday. Subarashiki Nichiobi. From 1947, it runs 109 minutes, black and white, monaural, and Japanese with optional English subtitles, 1.33 to 1 aspect ratio. Not much to say about this film. It's a little more cheerful than No Regrets for Our Youth, but it is still in a very dark vein. It follows these two lovers, Yuzo and Masako, this young couple who are engaged, and they spend the day in Tokyo, they spend one day in Tokyo just wandering around, and they only have, I think, 35 yen to their name, and so they go around like trying to find a place to live, and they go to a place that's like a slum building, and they just explore restaurants, and they play ball with these kids. And they kind of just, take it easy at the same time. Although there is a very sad passage in the middle where they visit Masako's apartment and it's very leaky and she almost has a breakdown. And in the end, it seems like they continue to stay optimistic. At one point, they end up visiting a bombed out building and pretending that they're going to buy a restaurant, and they imagine where everything is, and they play pretend in this very war-ravaged scene, only to stop and I guess get embarrassed when they see a crowd starting to watch them. And that's basically the basic of it. Probably the weirdest scene, probably the most talked about scene in the film is toward the end, where Yuzo and Masako visit a concert hall, or the sort of like the Hollywood Bowl kind of a concert stage, and Yuzo pretends to conduct. They were planning on seeing a performance of, I guess, Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. However, they weren't able to get in. I guess the ticket prices went up. I think the ticket prices went up as they were waiting in line, and so they couldn't afford the tickets. And so while they're there, Yuzo starts to conduct, and he wants him to hear the music, and Yuzo gets really embarrassed and sad, and Masako begins to clap for him to try and get him to, his spirits to raise up. And suddenly, with tearful eyes, she looks at the camera and begins to plead with the audience to clap for Yuzo. And she asks him for about, this goes on for about, maybe a minute or two. She basically just asks the audience. And I guess Kurosawa was attempting, some early audience participation. However, according to the Eclipse series, audiences in Japan sat motionless during Masako's entreaties, creating an awkward, empty space where Kurosawa intended engagement. I can kind of understand that. I feel like if this were if it were shown in America, we would have participated, but I feel like Japanese audiences took their movies a little seriously and were not really ready for something like that. There were, during the war, there were a lot of sing-alongs. During newsreels, they would have bouncing balls and stuff like that. During the, they would have songs, and they would encourage audiences to sing along, as a group. But in Japan, it wasn't the same kind of vibe, and so I guess it was a failed. It was sort of the idea was kind of fell down like a lead balloon. I clapped. I mean, I was just after a while, when I realized what was going on, I was like, all right, here you go. Yeah. just because, you know, I wasn't, you know, it was like whatever. But he ends up getting up and conducting, and you hear the music and all that, even though he's conducting nobody, you know. So yeah, it's an interesting movie. You know, these two lovers who are just kind of carefree but also careful at the same time. They are definitely, you know, in love with each other, and they're gonna stick through it, you know. And it also definitely just show that side of Tokyo that young people were experiencing due to the war. You know, a lot of young people who, you know, were touched by the war, you know, had to make their way in a city that was touched by the war. So it shows Kurosawa, you know, again showing like the, you know, it's very kind of a modern man or common man kind of story. Another thing they keep bringing up, another dialogue, is it kind of touches on like Italian neorealist films, and I can see that. And a lot of it is like that. A lot of those, you know, Italian films are very, you know, there's a lot of poverty displayed in a lot of those films, and so I feel like a lot of that is definitely in One Wonderful Sunday. And yeah, so anyway, that's all I have for this movie. I'm going to give this I give it an A, even with the weird audience participation scene that didn't go over very well. I still give it an A. It's a great movie. It's got some great Kurosawa touches throughout. And yeah, that's all I have to say. It's good stuff. So that's it for today. We will see you all tomorrow for Scandal, which definitely has with Toshiro Mifune and Takashi Shimura is gonna be a blast, I hope. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.